Imagine a world where the air is thick and humid, carrying the scent of damp earth and giant ferns. The sun filters through a canopy of towering conifers and strange, broad-leaved trees, painting the forest floor in shifting patterns of light and shadow. This is not a silent world, it thrums with life. The buzz of giant dragonflies, the rustle of small, scurrying mammals in the undergrowth, the distant, bellowing call of a horned herbivore. This is the Late Cretaceous, some 66 million years ago. And in this world, there is a king. He is not a king of castles, but of the land itself. Tyrannosaurus rex, the name itself is a declaration. Tyrant lizard king. But let's move beyond the name, beyond the bones in a museum. Let's see him as he was. We find him not in a dramatic charge, but in a moment of stillness. A massive silhouette, partially obscured by the giant trunks of cycads. He stands nearly 20 feet tall, a living mountain of muscle and scale. His skin isn't the dull grey of old illustrations, but a complex tapestry of patterns, mottled browns and greens perhaps, perfect for breaking up his form in the dappled light. He is not clumsy. Every movement is deliberate, a study in controlled power. His head, the size of a bathtub, turns slowly. Those forward-facing eyes, larger than grapefruits, scan the riverbank with a terrifying, intelligent focus. He is looking. He is listening. This is not a mindless monster. This is a sophisticated predator. Studies of his brain cavity suggest an animal with keen senses, especially smell. He could likely catch the scent of carrion or a wounded animal from miles away. His vision was sharp, tuned for movement, and his hearing, those small, almost comical arms, they weren't for fighting. They were powerful anchors, used to hold a thrashing prey item close, or perhaps to help him rise from rest. His real weapons were his head and his feet. Watch him move, a slow, ground-shaking walk, each step a tremor. His spine is held nearly horizontal, his massive tail acting as a counterbalance, a living rudder. He is an apex predator in the truest sense. Nothing hunts him. He is the final word in the food chain of his world. His role is brutal, but it is a role. He culls the herds of the duck-billed hadrosaurs, the three-horned triceratops. He takes the old, the sick, the slow. In doing so, he shapes the herds, influences the evolution of his prey, and his presence echoes through the entire ecosystem. But let's see a different side, a softer side, though that word feels strange. In a secluded sandy area near a volcanic slope, a female T-Rex uses those powerful yet surprisingly delicate hind feet to scrape out a shallow nest. She lays a clutch of eggs, each one the size of a large loaf of bread. She guards them. For weeks, she remains nearby, a brooding, protective presence. She is a parent. When the tiny, fuzzy hatchlings, looking more like awkward birds than kings, finally pip their way out of their shells, they are vulnerable. They are not born rulers. They are born survivors in a dangerous world. Only a few will make it to adulthood. This struggle, this fierce investment in the next generation, speaks of a complex creature, not just a killing machine. The world they live in is vibrant, but it is not stable. It is a world of extremes. Volcanic activity is common, pumping ash and gases into the atmosphere. The climate is warmer than today, with no ice caps. But it shifts. Sea levels rise and fall. The continents are breaking apart slowly, but the process creates new mountain ranges, new inland seas. The T-Rex rules a dynamic throne. And if you listen closely to this world, beneath the roars and the rustling, you can hear a faint, persistent hum. It's the sound of life diversifying in the shadows. Small, furry creatures scurry in the night. Birds, direct descendants of dinosaurs, flit in the trees. Flowering plants are spreading, changing the very fabric of the forests. The world is changing around the king, subtly, inexorably. He is the peak of a dynasty that has lasted for over 150 million years. The dinosaurs own the earth. Their rule seems absolute, eternal. But in nature, nothing is eternal. The mightiest tree can be felled by a storm it never saw coming. The king feels the tremors of the earth from distant volcanoes. He sees the skies darken with ash at times. He adapts, as his kind always has. He is strong. His species is strong. What could possibly challenge a creature like this? What force in nature could be greater than the tyrant lizard king? He stands at the river's edge, drinking. The water reflects a distorted image of his powerful head. For a moment, the reflection shimmers, broken by a ripple. A single leaf from a new kind of flowering tree drifts down and lands on the water's surface, right over the reflection of his eye. It floats there, a small, silent omen on a vast, ancient face. The king shakes his head, turns, and disappears back into the forest, leaving only the deep, fading impressions of his feet in the mud. The forest seems to breathe a sigh it didn't know it was holding. The smaller sounds return. The world continues. But for how long? What does it mean to be the king of a world that is itself, living on borrowed time? The reign of the king was measured not in years, but in millennia. Generation after generation of Tyrannosaurus rex lived, hunted, bred and died in the lush, warm world of the Late Cretaceous. They adapted to slow changes, shifts in forest composition, the migration of prey herds, the gentle rise and fall of ancient seas. They were the ultimate product of an age of giants, but history, even natural history, has a way of delivering its verdict not with a whisper, but with a cataclysm. It began with a light in the sky, a star growing brighter, moving faster than any star should. To any creature looking up, it would have been a curious, then a terrifying sight. In a matter of moments, this brilliant point of light became a fireball, ripping through the atmosphere, a column of incandescent rage headed for a point just off the coast of what we now call the Yucatan Peninsula. The impact was an event of almost biblical violence. It released energy billions of times greater than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. In an instant, it carved out a crater over 100 miles wide and 12 miles deep. The bedrock was vaporized. The earth itself liquefied and surged outward in waves of molten rock. For thousands of miles in every direction, the ground shook with seismic fury worse than any earthquake ever recorded. But the impact was just the opening act. Now came the fire. The heat pulse from the impact and the re-entry of superheated debris raining back down across the globe ignited wildfires on a continental scale. Imagine the entire world's forests, from the fern prairies to the conifer woodlands, simultaneously set ablaze. The sky, choked with soot and ash, turned from blue to a hellish orange, then to a deep, impenetrable black. The king's world, the world of dappled light and humid air, was being incinerated. For the tea, a rex, and for every large creature on land, the immediate aftermath was a struggle for survival in an alien landscape. The lush greenery was gone, replaced by a smoldering, charcoal-grey wasteland. The rivers and waterholes were choked with ash. The prey animals, the great herds of hadrosaurs and ceratopsians, were dead, dying, or scattered. The sophisticated senses of the tyrant king were now instruments of torture. The air was thick with toxic fumes, acidic rain began to fall, and the constant fine ash would have clogged lungs and blinded eyes. But the true killer was the darkness. The billions of tons of dust and aerosols thrown into the upper atmosphere began their deadly work. They formed a global shroud, blocking sunlight, not for days or weeks, but for months, possibly years. Photosynthesis ground to a halt. Plants died. The food web, that intricate pyramid of life with the great predators at its peak, collapsed from the bottom up. Let's pull back for a moment. This wasn't the first challenge the dinosaurs had faced. They had survived mass extinctions before. They had ruled through ice ages and volcanic upheavals, So why was this different? Why did this one event break them? The answer lies in scale and speed. Previous extinctions were often slow squeezes, climate changes over hundreds of thousands of years that gave life time to adapt, to migrate, to evolve. The asteroid impact was a hammer blow. It was a sudden, global, multi-pronged attack. Fire, quake, tsunami, darkness, cold and poison, all within a terrifyingly short span of time. There was no time to adapt, no place to run. We return to our king. He is starving. His massive body, which once required hundreds of pounds of meat each week, is now a liability. He cannot find food. The carcasses of the initial die-off are picked clean or rotting. His hatchlings, if any, survived the fires, have certainly perished. The world has become silent, save for the howl of ash-laden winds. His great strength is useless. His powerful jaws have nothing to bite. He is a monarch without a kingdom, a ruler of a dead empire. In this new, dark world, size became a death sentence. The energy required to sustain a multi-ton body was impossible to find. Smaller creatures had an advantage. They needed less food. They could burrow, hide in crevices, survive on seeds, insects, or decaying matter. The mammals, those small, furry shadows of the old world, could scavenge in the dark. Some could even eat the very seeds that lay dormant in the soil. The crocodiles and turtles could slow their metabolism and wait it out in mud. The T-Rex could do none of these things. He was a specialist of the highest order, perfected for a world that no longer existed. His evolutionary triumph was now his epitaph. One by one, the great giants succumbed, not in a dramatic battle, but in a slow, agonizing fade. The last T-Rex likely died alone, weak and confused, in a landscape that bore no resemblance to the forest of its birth. The final tremor in the earth was not from its footfall, but from its body falling, for the last time. The darkness lasted. The impact winter plunged global temperatures. When the skies finally began to clear years later, the sun revealed a broken world. The forests were gone, the great inland seas were altered, and the silence was absolute. No thunderous footfalls, no echoing roars. The age of dinosaurs, a reign that had lasted for over 170 million years, was over. It ended not with a whimper, but with a bang heard around the globe. But here lies the most difficult question of all. Was it just the asteroid? Some scientists point to evidence of massive volcanic eruptions in India around the same time. The Deccan traps were flooding the atmosphere with greenhouse gases, potentially already stressing ecosystems. Was the world of T-Rex already on edge? Was the asteroid the final, decisive blow to a dynasty already teetering? We may never know for sure. Perhaps the truth is even more profound. Perhaps it doesn't matter if the king was ill before the blow landed. The result was the same. The throne was empty. And in that emptiness, in that profound and terrible silence, a question hung in the thin, cold air of the new world. What happens next? Silence. For millions of years after that day, the silence where the roar had been was the defining feature of the land. The world recovered, but it was a different world. The great forests of ferns and cycads were largely gone, replaced by new kinds of plants. The emptied landscapes once patrolled by giants were now open, and in that emptiness, life did what it always does. It filled the void, but not with the same creatures. The small survivors inherited the earth. Those mammals, no bigger than rats, who had scurried in the shadows of the T-Rex now emerged into a world without their primary predators. They diversified, grew and evolved with breathtaking speed. Within a few million years, a blink in geological time, they had become the new dominant force on land. Birds, the living descendants of dinosaurs, took to the skies and flourished. But the great terrestrial dynasties of the Mesozoic were gone. The ecological roles of the giant herbivores and the apex predators were left vacant, and nature, abhorring a vacuum, began crafting new candidates for the throne. Millions of years turned into tens of millions. Continents drifted to their modern positions. Ice ages came and went, and the bones of the king and all his kin lay buried deep, compressed under layers of rock, slowly turning to stone. The memory of their world was erased by time and shifting earth. Then one day, not so long ago in the grand scheme, a different kind of creature walked the earth. A creature driven by curiosity. It dug. It found a strange giant tooth, then a massive femur, a skull larger than any living animal. Piece by painstaking piece, we began to dig up the king. We reassembled his skeleton in great museum halls. We named him Tyrannosaurus Rex, Tyrant Lizard King, and in doing so, we brought him back from the silence, not as flesh, but as an idea, a symbol of lost majesty, of ultimate power, and of a fragility we never imagined. We study his bones like a crime scene, piecing together the story of his life and his death. The evidence is in the rock layer known as the KPG boundary, a thin global line of clay rich in iridium, an element rare on Earth but common in asteroids. It is the smoking gun. Above that line, no T-Rex bones are ever found. His reign ended at that precise geological moment. But his legacy is more than just a cautionary tale about asteroids. The extinction of T-Rex and the non-avian dinosaurs was a reset button for the planet. It cleared the stage. It created the evolutionary opportunity that ultimately led to us. In a very real sense, we are here because they are not. Their end was our beginning. This is a humbling, almost unsettling thought. Our entire lineage, our ascent to dominance, is built upon the empty space they left behind. And that leads us to the most important echo of all. The T-Rex was not a victim of its own failure. It was a supremely successful animal, struck down by an external random catastrophe. But today, the new kings of the Earth, humanity, are facing a crisis of our own making. We are not looking at the sky for a falling star. We are looking in the mirror. The rapid warming of the climate, the destruction of habitats, the pollution of oceans, the hunting and trafficking of species to the brink. This is our asteroid. It is slower, but it is just as global, just as deadly. And this time, the cataclysm has a mind. It has intentions, it has choices. Look at the modern descendants of that ancient world. The birds are their direct heirs. An eagle, with its powerful, grasping talons and keen, forward-facing eyes, carries the ghost of a raptor in its DNA. A cassowary, large and powerful, hints at a different kind of dinosaurian presence. They are the living reminders that the dynasty never fully ended. It just changed form. And look at the modern apex predators. The tiger, the great white shark, the wolf. They are the new T-Rexes of their ecosystems. They shape their environments, cull the herds, and hold the food web in balance. And like the T-Rex, they are now vulnerable. Not to a space rock, but to us. Their forests are being cut down. Their oceans are warming and acidifying. Their prey is disappearing. They are specialists in a world that is changing too fast for them to adapt. The story of the T-Rex is not a closed book. It is a prologue. It teaches us that no kingdom, no matter how powerful, is permanent. That ecosystems are intricate tapestries, and pulling one thread, especially the thread of the apex predator, can unravel the entire fabric in ways we cannot predict. The silence that followed the dinosaurs' extinction lasted for eons. What kind of silence would follow ours? Or more importantly, what kind of silence would we leave behind? We hold the bones of the king in our hands. We marvel at their size, their strength. But perhaps the most powerful lesson they offer is one of humility. We are not the first rulers of this planet. We are merely the latest. The Earth does not belong to us. We belong to it. and the fate of the previous monarch is etched in stone, a silent scream from the past, asking us a single urgent question. Will we be the only kings to see our asteroid coming and have the power to step aside? The camera pulls back from a magnificent reconstructed T-Rex skeleton, standing proud in a museum hall surrounded by whispering visitors. It pulls back through the museum roof, up into the sky, showing the city, the continent, the whole blue planet spinning in the black silence of space. The same space that, 66 million years ago, sent a messenger of endings. Now, it's just us and our world, hanging in the balance. The legacy of the king is no longer just in his bones. It's in our hands.